Last year, LSU beat Auburn on a 22-yard pass with 1 second remaining to keep the home winning streak alive. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, glad to be with you on the College Football Previews here on CBSSports.com. We're breaking down number 6 LSU, traveling to Jordan-Hare Stadium to take on 10th-ranked Auburn, a place the Tigers, the LSU Tigers, haven't won since 1998. And to break it all down, we bring in Spencer Tillman with us on the phone from Houston, despite everything going on down there. And Spence, let's get into that fact, the fact that Auburn has pretty much been unbeatable at home against LSU in this series over the past decade. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it may change. I think the fact that you had some stability, even though Ed Borges was only there for a few years, when he came in like gangbusters with that West Coast-style offense and caught a lot of folks off guard in the SEC. So that was probably part of it as well. And they play solid defense. But, again, two of those factors I just mentioned, the second being, of course, Will Muschamp, who's now the defensive coordinator for Texas Longhorns. Those things are not operative. And, of course, Al Borges is long since gone. So you've got a different context altogether. And I think it could very well signal the change of the results in this series.
Well, part of that is the fact that Auburn scored just 3 points last week in the game at Mississippi State. They won, but those offensive numbers were horrible. How do they go about changing that this week against LSU?
Well, it's going to be tough because you and I have talked about this. You know, anytime you lose one of your top running backs to injury, you've got to find a way, if you're Auburn, to replace that. And I think, you know, despite the fact that Tate is a good running back, you need to. I think we keep seeing that as a reoccurring theme. If you're talking about Ohio State, doesn't matter who you're talking about, you're going to need 2 running backs to make it end-to-end at this level. So I think that's going to be a challenge for Auburn because they don't have great quarterback play. They're new there, new system. Admittedly, they probably put in a little bit too much offensively, so they had to back off and simplify things a little bit. And anytime you're trying to create on offense, it's going to take you a lot longer. And so they've got to back up and reevaluate some things, and that's going to be their major challenge, keeping it simple but yet trying to be productive enough to get some big plays and scores.
Is Chris Todd a capable enough quarterback in this game?
I think he's capable. I mean, I don't think he's going to get you beat, but again, I would be much more comfortable saying that if you've got both backs available to you. So it's a different kind of situation that they're in. That's the reason why I think this series is going to change in terms of the results.
All right, well, you talked about having multiple backs. LSU's got a bunch, but the one that they feature is Charles Scott, and 4th best in the nation in yards per carry. When you look at him going up against that Auburn defense, is he going to be able to run like he has so far this season?
I don't see reason why, he won't. I mean, obviously, in the early part of the year, you got to consider the competition. I mean, at 102 yards, I think, against North Texas, and North Texas is North Texas, but you look, he's averaged 131 in their first couple of games. So he clearly is the guy that Les Miles wants to go to, and everybody knows Les Miles, who would go for it on 4th and 1 in a minute if he had an opportunity. Loves to run the ball first as an option, and that was something that early on they probably struggled with in terms of continuity with Gary Croton, who wants to open things up a little bit, and they found that happy medium to leverage that to a national title. So I think that they'll be fine. I think that Charles Scott is exactly where Les Miles wants him, carrying the ball 15 to 24 times a game and controlling the clock and eating it up, and they'll do the same thing in this contest.
Spence, you talked about an injury on the Auburn side, that being Brad Lester, one of the running backs. How about on the LSU side? Second-team All-SEC, Derry Beckwith, not going to play. How big of a loss is that?
Well, it makes a big difference. Anytime you have a defensive stopper that's not part of the game, and the strength of the opposition centers on him being in the center of the tension and early and often at the point of attack defensively, you're going to have problems because that means your offense, the opposition in this case, is going to be playing on your side of the football more often than not. And again, this is all about moving the chains, getting first downs, playing into the wheelhouse of what Les Miles likes to do offensively, and that's an issue. I mean, if you don't have him available, you got problems.
Spence, I know you like LSU in this game. You've talked about it through this preview, and for them to change the 8 straight times that the home team has won. So I know you like LSU to go into Auburn. But real quickly, you've been covering the SEC for a long time. What is it about this rivalry that is just so heated and why it's so good?
Well, I think familiarity. It does breed contempt, but in this case, familiarity breeds confidence. And when you've seen someone long enough, and the personnel for the most part is relatively the same, you got good coaches and time to evaluate them. Look, LSU is going to be simple. There's nothing complex about what they're going to do. We just talked about Charles Scott running the football. But LSU has won 16 straight non-conference games. But, that doesn't apply here. But what that streak suggests is confidence. They're on a roll right now, dating back to last year when they won it all. So I just don't think anyone can unseat them.
All right, Spencer Tillman, thank you very much, sir.
All right, Jason.
We'll see him Saturday on the college football today. Of course, that's at 3 o'clock. Florida, Tennessee, that's at 3:30 on CBS. For Spencer Tillman, I'm Jason Horowitz, Auburn, LSU. It's a Saturday nighter. Take care, folks.